What's up, guys? This is Raul Espinosa, and welcome to the Iowa Entrepreneur Podcast. My special guest today is Joel Cox. He owns the very popular Porch Light Coffeehouse here in Ankeny, Iowa. Welcome to the show, Joel.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
So one question I wanted to go ahead and start asking you was, you weren't always a business owner your whole life, right? So how did that come to be? Like, what did early life for Joel look like?
Started with a large convenience store corporation. That was my high school job. Worked 10 years for them. Some of that was college time in another state. Was able to transfer back and forth from Iowa to Missouri with them. Great experience. 10 years of very hard work in that industry with a very well-respected company that treated its employees very well. Noticed at one point in time that it was going to be difficult. The ladder I had climbed with that company, it was going to be difficult to have what I envisioned as a family life.
Okay.
Just for the nature of the particular job I was in, had overnights, travel, that type of thing.
Sure.
Within some of their other cities that they operated in. So I took a leap of faith out of that company and ended up in the nonprofit world for 10 years.
Wow.
Much different. I had a little bit of experience with that particular industry in my college days as a part-time job. Liked it, enjoyed it. Found a nonprofit here in Des Moines that I worked for those 10 years.
Okay.
And then found myself without a job at one point and had to make a decision, reaching a age milestone on what I wanted to do next. And I had very much had a tug in my heart for owning my own business, and the opportunity seemed like a now or never type thing. So
wow.
Yeah.
So was it like just this gut feeling that you've had that you did, or was it like your idea to begin with, or your wife said, no, we shouldn't do this, or how did that
Very much
happen?
so a gut thing, something that had been on my mind for a long time. I am an idea person, and there seem to be different needs in the community.
Okay.
And my interests are wide and varied. So coffee wasn't necessarily the goal at that point in time. It was more so the goal of being a business person that's able to make those decisions, put some ideas to use, see the direct results of those ideas. Coffee happened to be something that I felt Ankeny needed, and that was somewhat approachable to enter into.
Well, I remember, so for the listeners who didn't know, my first job in Iowa was at your coffee house.
Mm-hmm.
So the little story behind that was just, I was applying all over the place. I was new to Iowa and recent college graduate. You'd think you'd get into the job industry, fairly easy. And it was, I had Target, Shields, everyone not really calling back, even GameStop. I applied to GameStop at one point, and it's just kind of sad to think about now that how hard that was to try and apply. For some reason, they weren't hiring me. And then I came into your shop one day before it opened, because I noticed you were there, and I just knocked on the door. I don't know if you remember, because I was dropping off an application.
Mm-hmm.
We had a good conversation that day, and I really noticed that you were really passionate about what you were about to do, and the place looked wonderful. And you kind of told me how it was an Italian restaurant beforehand, and all the changes you've done, and then you hired me on the spot, and we went for it, and I worked there for about a year and a half.
Yep. And I remember that vividly. It was very much a moment where I could tell you were a genuine person, and that's what stood out to me most. And that's what's important to us, is hiring genuine people who can be themselves. That's going to provide the best customer experience.
Yeah.
And that held true.
Yeah, and of course. And I do thank you very much for that. It really kind of is what helped put all this into vision for me during the time I was working there, because you have a lot of coffee when you're working there, and you get to meet all kinds of people, from all over the spectrum. And so that's kind of what helped me meet the people that I know now is working there. And so everyone that I've met working there as well that worked with me, all my coworkers were great. So you could tell you were really looking at the person's heart when you hired them, because they're all great. And you have a new person now in there that I met once, and he seems like he'll do just fine. So
the job can be taught. It's the interaction with the customers that make them feel important to your business that you can't necessarily teach. So that's really identifying that in a person and figuring out whether or not they're going to be able to deliver that in a way that is, again, the genuine word is what keeps popping up.
Yeah. So how did you find that place, this building?
Just searching
You were just looking
far and
around?
wide, seeing if it was
Yeah.
going to be something viable. And it really is the particular space that we found, a former restaurant. The bones were there, just needed a lot of refreshing.
Yeah.
Was a locally owned building. Just all the right things fell into place for that to be the spot. Also, there was a hint of energy in Uptown Ankeny that was really feeling like it was just
bubbling.
ready. Exactly.
Yeah.
It was that bubbling. We could sense it. My
Mhm.
wife sensed it.
Mhm.
And noticed that and said, I feel like you got to try this.
Yeah. It's really cool how you see the change. You've seen the change now in the past few years, like 3 years in Uptown, with new businesses popping up. And obviously, I think yours had a big play in that. And now you even serve on the board in Uptown. So did you ever think that it was going to get to this point?
I was hopeful. Wasn't quite sure the timeline. I knew there was potential if we didn't make any missteps, and if
Oh, yeah.
if things happened on our side, and they seem to have. Um, yeah, so I'm very pleased with the growth we've seen. In some ways, we're growing extremely fast, and that piece is a little bit scary. But
Yeah.
I consider myself just along for the ride, and kind of seeing where it wants to go.
Yeah. Have you noticed too, as terms of popularity, it's up there. Like I Googled it the other day just to kind of see. And you pop on the top of the search bar and, you have almost 400 ratings on Google. Like, do you ever step back and kind of Google yourself or check to see kind of how it's grown?
I'm so focused on moving forward that I don't do a lot of that.
Yeah.
I run across it occasionally. I'm always happy to see that. It's also nerve wracking as a small business owner to be getting that kind of attention because you know that one slight misstep with an unforgiving person could send you in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing as a small business owner I'm learning keeps you up at night.
Of course. I remember working there, usually, obviously, weekends, but even throughout the week, the busy time was like right around 9, maybe 9 to noon. Is that still kind of the case?
Yeah, 9 to 11, I'd say is the peak hours. That's when we are now filling up full occasionally. And that's, again, as an accommodating person, you want to just pull chairs out of the woodwork, but you have limitations and you want it to be a good experience for everyone that walks in the door. And so that's where you really have to think creative.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As far as your ideas go, where do you see, Porch Light going in the next few years, especially with being a part of Uptown? Do you have any cool ideas you'd like to share that you envision coming in?
I think the possibilities are endless. I think it is going to continue to be a viable piece of this area. There's lots of potential partnerships we can do to really continue helping Uptown grow into a thriving business district. It was at one point. It's been a strong part of the community.
Yeah.
Since the beginning. This is where Ankeny started, and it's been a business district with a strong heart for that entire time.
Mm-hmm.
As Ankeny has changed around it, though, there's been times where it's been, I guess, for the lack of better words, kind of forgotten about in some ways.
Sure.
And now I think it's very much on the radar of most of the people that live in this town, and very much a viable part of the community, the heart of the community.
It's just a good destination to keep Ankeny in its roots, I think, especially with farmers market coming in through the summers, all the events going on in the holidays. If you guys haven't been to Porch Light, you walk in and you see just kind of like Christmas, but not Christmas modern Christmas, I would like to say. It's more like you feel at home Christmas. Mm-hmm. And that's what I like about that. Why do you gravitate towards more of a vintage kind of feel?
Our style is eclectic, vintage, suburban ranch. Is what I would say.
That sounds about right.
It's with the goal of meeting a wide variety of people's, needs. It's very much aimed at someone that's in an older generation feeling a bit of nostalgia, and someone in a younger generation feeling a little bit of mystery.
Yeah.
What is some of this stuff? We have a TV from 1952 sitting in there. It has no other purpose other than to start conversations.
True. With that door too in the entrance, what it's like an old Ford door or something?
Yeah, so it's a door from an old, I don't know the brand of truck. We're trying to get some additional information on that actually. It's from an old coffee company out of Marshalltown called Afterglow, and it was part of a grocery distributor network. And that's cool. So it was something we stumbled upon. Mm-hmm. It just had a cool feel to it. It was part of Iowa's history. We're still trying to find more information on that. And just love it when something has a story, something that is rooted in the past.
Of course. What's like your favorite go-to during the holidays? As far as, since you're there every day, do you have like your favorite beverage?
Eggnog lattes lately
Yeah,
are what's been
those
popular.
are the
I do
best.
love those. I try to avoid them as much as possible.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've turned into kind of just a straight coffee person. It's
Mm-hmm.
coffee and a little cream.
Yeah.
Um, I never get to finish a cup. We are too busy these days for that. So
Of course.
it's lots of sips throughout the
Yeah.
day of things that tend to get cold pretty fast.
Yeah. And so I've also noticed you've collaborated with a business right next door to you. There's the door now. There's a doorway now between both. How has that affected your business at all?
It's great. So Walnut and Willow is next door. We've shared a wall since we started,
Yeah.
formerly Walnut Street Gallery. The idea had been discussed a few times. Just, well, wouldn't it be great if
Yeah.
if there was a pass through and the opportunity arose
Yeah.
to do that, and the building owner was embraced that idea too, and it happened. We
It
blew
just
through the
kinda
wall and
happened.
we found a vintage door that has
Yeah.
some history to it. Again, we don't know that history. We'd love
Mhm.
to, but it's been great. Both businesses have seen an increase.
Yeah.
It's a great way to collaborate, great way to
Sure.
work together, and that's what this part of town does a lot of is work together. Very close to all
Yeah.
of our business neighbors up here.
Yeah, and you can really tell too when you go down Walnut, with the new tap room coming in, which we're at right now currently, that hosts the podcast. The back has like a playground almost, the AstroTurf and all that. Has that changed business for you at all?
Shared community space that happened kind of late summer.
Sure.
Very sunny in the daytime, so we haven't fully realized full potential for that
Mhm.
yet.
Yeah.
That's something we'll be thinking really hard about in the spring, is how to best use that for our
Yeah.
customers, and then the tap room customers as well, and then how to collaborate. There's a
Yeah.
lot of potential.
It's just a nice little, like, almost central hub of the street, because if you guys haven't been by listening, there's a nice mural that came up right on your building on the east wall, right across from the AstroTurf, and it just, something about it's special and attracts people to come here. I'm pretty sure I go to your coffee house every morning. You see me get my morning fuel. You see people that come in and ask questions that have never been by and never even hear about businesses in Uptown, and just it's mind-boggling, and they live in Ankeny.
Mhm.
So
We do see new customers daily, and 3 years in, or almost 3 years in, that's somewhat amazing to me. But also, it's a
Yeah.
great thing. It means that we have continued future growth. A healthy business needs
Mhm.
that good set of regulars, but also needs to see
Sure.
new faces every day.
well, and it's 3 years February, right?
Yep.
Wow. It seems like it's been around a little longer for some reason to me.
I was thinking it
But-
seems a lot less. Yep.
Really?
Yep. It's been a very quick 3 years.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see that you've been around and succeeding, and you see all those, some local businesses lately. There's been sort of they're dying off, and we're trying to. I think Uptown's really trying very hard to keep that at home, because I don't know where we would be at without little local businesses like the coffee house and
It's a struggle.
boutique and stuff.
Yeah, it's not easy. We're people of faith. That's been instrumental in helping us along. I know that there's a purpose in the community that we're serving. I
Yeah.
know that we're being, smiled upon, and
Mhm.
and that's really what it took for us to get through some major hurdles. It hasn't
Sure.
been easy. It hasn't just been coasting along. We've really had to make some sacrifice to keep this place afloat. Now it's
Yeah.
showing that it's going to make a go of it.
Yeah, that's
and
paying
we're
off.
excited for that opportunity to continue growing with the community and seeing what's in store next.
Yeah. Well, and then also with, you got the parade switching its route down through Uptown, so that probably helped too with just bringing more traffic in there, and during Summerfest and all that.
Absolutely. There seems to be a great understanding from the city, from the other organizations in town of the role of Uptown Ankeny, the importance of it thriving, and the fact that it is kind of the heart of the community. Again, where Ankeny started, the roots as close as it gets to roots.
Yeah.
So seeing things like the Summerfest parade being rerouted through this part of town, it brings the community together in my mind.
Of course.
Also, events that the city hosts, bring
Mhm.
brought to Uptown, and the AMP, the creation of the AMP in general has
Yeah.
been key for the success of the farmers market. So just lots of good things like that are happening to keep
Yeah.
all of Ankeny, especially at the center.
Of course. And you participate in the farmers market too, right?
Yeah, we do a little stand up there. It's a
Yeah.
great chance for us to get up and meet the community, identifies us as a neighborhood business,
Yeah.
and it's been great. It's a very well done farmers market. It's growing
Oh,
quickly, and
totally is.
again, potential is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, now that you've been this entrepreneur, business person for, almost 3 years, maybe 4, since I don't know how long it took to build, the bones and everything in Porch Light. What comes to mind when, as far as you go as a businessman? Like, do you think there's other businesses that you're gonna possibly come up with later on? Like, or do you think Porch Light's gonna be it your whole life, or kind of what's in your mind right now on that spectrum?
Anything else we would do as a family business, we would take more time to do. We were very lucky with Porch Light. Didn't necessarily start with all of the resources we needed to, to have an easy start. So learned a lot of lessons that way as a first-time business owner. That was, that's just the way it is. And so we've learned, we've taken note, and I am open to any possibilities. If it's looking like Porch Light can grow, whether it becomes franchises down the road, or I don't know. That word's a little scary to me because I like to see control. I like to really control that experience, and the atmosphere we have with the current coffee house would be difficult to replicate unless we found same circumstances. A building that's ready to go, that's cozy, that that a small entrepreneur can turn into a welcoming space. So there's just factors there that we wouldn't want to skimp on pieces to just have another, So I would have to think long and hard about another Porch Light branded coffee house just to make sure we're able to do it right. There's lots of other possibilities that would be complementary, either to this area or to the city of Ankeny. So,
so you do see yourself as a multiple business owner?
I would love to. I'd love that opportunity. I'd be thankful for that. I can't tell you today what that would be. It's identifying another need in the community, and hopefully something that complements or meshes well with what we're already doing. And again, I'm not opposed to a second location. It's just a matter of, it would really have to be the right set of circumstances that would allow us to do it well.
Okay. I was just curious because, I wasn't a business owner or an entrepreneur up until, after working with you. So it's just good to see that someone who wasn't born in it, kind of where their mindset is on things too.
Yeah. And it's somewhat fresh in the journey for us too, to, right now my focus is making sure that I can be a good father and a good husband. And, I'd love to start providing small business owners able to pay themselves is something to be considered as well. So, those are my priorities at this point in time. Now that we've kind of survived that 3-year mark, we're getting close to it. So those are factors as well in the decision-making process. And, so
have you always seen yourself as a family man since early on, or is it just
something I value? I had very, very good parents. Thankful for that. It's something I've always wanted to be, was a husband and a father, and I just feel like I've been really blessed in that category. So and I have this piece of me that values the past. I look towards childhood memories, and that's something I really hope our business provides to the community, and something that I can, being involved in the Uptown Association, also help provide as those family memories, those things that people look back on and appreciate.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think of things from my childhood that are missing that I would love my daughter to experience. We did have a great time out at Adventureland, able to put her on the very same airplane ride that I rode as a kid and have a picture that matches, that was something I look forward to. But other pieces of my childhood are missing, the talking reindeer at the mall, and going to Showbiz Pizza. Those things that I would love for her to experience have kind of gone away.
So trying to bring that back for her, because technology now is so advanced, and kids these days, they have, their tablets and their phones now already. And, I didn't even have that until I was like 18 or so, because of, when I grew up. So it's important, I think, to have something that they can be ingrained in their brain and remember that when they grow up. So then they also provide that for their kids. And just, I see that when I go into Porch Light. So you got the nice board games up in the wall, you know, the Candyland and all the, you know, games that we grew up playing.
Yeah, not everyone knows
So-
this, but the ones that hang on the walls, you're welcome to take those down. You can check out the pieces up at the front counter.
Yeah.
We do that as a method of keeping track of
Yeah,
the pieces.
that
to
was
make
a
sure it's
great
good
idea, by
experience.
the
But
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a fun thing that can be,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just make the visit a little more enjoyable.
Yeah. So you do believe in work-life balance then?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's critical. I'm not always successful at that. That's something I'm working on. It's one of my top priorities right now.
It's just one thing I think is just something that slips, you know, business owners their mind because they're just so focused on the growth and making sure they're afloat that they forget, you know, sometimes they got to be at home too and kind of let go of things. So, you know,
that really relies upon trusting your team and having that team that understands the full vision and the expectations. And we're lucky in that category.
Good.
Yep.
All right. Well, Joel, thanks for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you for the opportunity. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.